just jump into the examination if you don't mind. All right. I'd love to start with your face, if that's okay. Excellent. So let me first just get your hair out of the way here. There we are. That way you can see what I'm doing. I'm just getting this little hair right here. Doesn't really want to be picked up. I can just... There we go. Slide that off there. It wasn't super noticeable just because I'm so close. There we are. So let's take a peek here. I'm going to start right in this area. We're just going to do a little bit of palpation here. My name is Calliope, by the way. How are you doing today? I hope by the time you leave this exam, you feel even just the littlest bit better. Let's see. Get right in here. I'm a little close, I know. Just want to make sure that I am getting a good visual inspection in addition to our palpation. I really appreciate you attending this special examination. Good. Just feeling around for textural differences. And if I see any lesions, then we're taking a little feel of them. Good. Feeling for temperature as well. If something is hotter than it should be, or if something is cooler than it should be. Just going to come down the nose, sides of the nose. There we are. And do let me know if you experience any pain or discomfort at all. It's very important to know. Just work on this half. And the other side. There we are. Good. Let me just do a bit of pressing around. Again, let me know if there's any pain or tenderness here. So the skin itself, quite healthy, a little bit dry. But that's normal this time of year, isn't it? Just use my thumb here. Roll and press. Couple freckles, couple moles. Nothing out of the ordinary. They are symmetrical, small, circular, one color. That'll be that for the frontal sinuses. So let's come right here along the ethmoid. To the maxillary. I'm not necessarily quite partial to this time of year. I like the stirrings of autumn when it's still warm, still sunny, and in the Midwest, you gotta plan for all weather. So on Monday it'll snow, and by the weekend you might get 80-degree temps again, let alone having 40-degree mornings and 85-degree afternoons. But it keeps you on your toes, doesn't it? But this time of year is a little less exciting. I know it's supposed to be a time for slowing down, but something I do quite enjoy. I have 2 cats, 2 tabby fraternal twins, and they get extra goofy this time of year. Extra goofy. Now I'm going to be tapping on the frontal ethmoid and maxillary sinuses, a little bit of direct percussion. Let me know if it's uncomfortable at all. Do a little bit like this. So they start putting on their winter coats, and one of them, named Minnie, is very silky, very sleek, and his sister, Kiwi, she is very puffy and fuzzy, and she looks like she's a toddler wearing snow pants when she gets her winter coat, especially when you walk behind her and you see her and just all of her fur, all of her fuzz just ripples around. And because it's not so hot, they get this burst of energy. So they've got permanent zoomies running all over the house, their tails tucked under like they're monkeys, running into walls, things like that, because they go so fast. And we have hardwood floors, so you can hear when they skid to a stop. And they really love playing with spring toys. Minnie loves playing by himself. Kiwi wants to play with other people and her brother. Minnie takes little felt balls and will throw them around using his mouth and pretending like someone else threw them, and, pounces on them. And Kiwi has been washing her toys lately. She'll bring her toys and she will put them in her water bowl and just dunk them in and out. So we have to change their water a lot more often, because several times a day we'll find a little felt ball or a little pipe cleaner ring or some other kind of fabric toy in their water dish. Just simply goofy behavior. I'm going to work behind the ears, in front of the ears, and underneath here in the lymph node areas. So that's a bit of a new development. They like washing their toys. I don't know if you had seen, but we had the Aurora Borealis here somewhat recently, and I've never seen it before. And I'm just going to come behind the ear here. I'd never seen it before, and all of a sudden my family's group chat had a bunch of pictures of the green aurora, and from where my partner and I live, it was red. We could see a red aurora, and it was so strange to see it undulating in the sky. And it was even more strange because my partner texted his friends about the aurora, and they didn't see it in the sky, which was a little strange. They really didn't even have light pollution, but for whatever reason, it didn't appear for them. So yeah, I didn't get quite the same green large sight as the rest of my family, but it was a very, very cool sight. I don't know if you were able to catch that. Right here, down. So very beautiful. It's really something that we get to live in a world where that is something that happens. Isn't that amazing? We have an ever-shifting sky of every color, and we have dancing lights at night, and greens, reds, blues, pinks, golds. Okay, let's go underneath here. Just doing a little assessment of the lymph nodes. So under here we have the submental and submandibular nodes. We're just gonna roll around the skin a bit. We don't want to just tap along here, but instead really get a roll to it that we can feel for any distension and mobility. Good. So I don't know if this is something up your alley, but the new Ken Burns documentary is coming out, and my partner is all about Ken Burns, and he was so excited. And I believe it's something like 6 parts, and I wasn't incredibly interested because it's on the American Revolutionary War, and that was a subject that in school we focused on for way too long. I think I didn't even know what the Korean War was after I got out of school. Anything past the 1920s I had to learn about as an adult. The Revolutionary War you learn about every single year. So I was like, nah, I'm good. But there was one part that really stuck out to me. I'm just going to come down along here. There was a part that stuck out to me where they had said that the colonists at one point had retaliated against some British figure, and stole all his furniture out of his house. So then it kind of became a running joke of they were talking about, what the colonists would do in response to certain actions. I was like, are they going to go in and steal their furniture? Are they going to go steal a couch? What an odd thing. So I did quite get some amusement from that. It was beautifully shot. It, in part, was narrated by Tom Hanks, and there was also another figure who I had some familiarity with. They were talking about the Native Americans at that time, and so they had someone named Ned Blackhawk on there talking a little bit about it. And I was like, hey, I know that guy. I've seen him in YouTube videos before. So that was quite cool. Good. Okay, so I would like to bring out the stethoscope now. And I'd like to do some auscultation. We can auscultate or listen to quite a few areas. We can listen to arteries. We can listen to the heart, the lungs, the abdomen. So let's start with the temporal arteries. That's going to be right in here. Right in here. You don't need to do anything special. I'm just going to have you breathe normally. And take a little listen here. Good. I can hear a little your heartbeat. The other side. Good. There we are. Good quality. Good strength. For the carotid artery here, I'm going to have you take a deep breath in and hold it. That way, I won't hear the air rushing in and out of your throat here, and I'll just be able to hone in on the pulsations. So, I'm going to put this diaphragm in the stethoscope right here. Have you take a deep breath in and hold just for a few seconds here, and exhale. Good. Other side here. Deep breath in and hold. Listen for bruise here, audible heart murmurs, and exhale. Okay. Now for the heart. So our first valve, what we're listening to are the valves. Our first valve is the aortic valve. You can keep breathing normally. Good, and then the pulmonary or the pulmonic valve, so we'll come a bit lateral here. Here we are. And we'll come back over and down. We can get to the tricuspid valve. Been quite a few cool programs on the PBS lately. I went through a phase where I watched like 6 Nova documentaries in a row. And now the mitral valve. It started, we had caught one on the Maya, and then I watched one about Pompeii, one about the tombs underneath the Notre Dame Cathedral. Now we'll get to the abdomen, and then we'll come back up to the lungs. The lungs are gonna take a lot. Just keep breathing normally, and this will move quicker, but in more areas. So then we just saw recently a program on the Neanderthals and a little bit about, I believe it's supposed to be Denisovan people, though I think she was an anthropologist, called it Denisovan. Kind of stuck in my mind. The Denisovan people. And there are a lot of things we get from the Neanderthal and Denisovan people. For example, I believe that Crohn's disease is something, the genes came from Neanderthal DNA. And even things like, there were little oddities like, they believe that one specimen they had, Neanderthal, had red hair. And Neanderthals, they would have been maybe shorter than us, definitely more broad-chested, and had a higher pitched and more nasal voice. They didn't have a chin. I don't believe Denisovans did either. Just went from mouth to neck. But Neanderthals, they had a much bigger nose so they could warm up the air in their nose. They were concentrated, or it was much colder. And so that was something that really piqued our interest. Good. So let's move to the lungs. What I am going to have you do is, as I press the diaphragm of the stethoscope on the skin here, I'm going to have you take a deep breath in and out. And then I can compare each side, so I can compare how this side sounds to this side. If I could have you just inhale here, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Good. Third row here. Inhale, exhale, inhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Okay. I am going to have you turn around so that I can listen to your lungs along the posterior chest wall. And then that way we can also get into our percussion. start at the posterior, flip to the anterior. There we go. Good. I can have you just take a deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and out. Deep breath in. Deep breath in. Deep breath in. Deep breath in and out. Let's go ahead and just pop this away for a bit. There we are. So, lungs sounded excellent. Good resonance in there. And I am just going to be putting my hands on your back. And I'm going to have you say the word 99. And I am feeling for how the sound vibrates in your lungs. So I'm going to start right here. If you could just say the word 99. Good. 99. 99. 99. Okay, and we'll do that on the anterior chest as well. But first we're going to finish up our examination on the posterior with some percussion. So, percussion is where I tap on my finger here, and I'm going to listen for how the sound sounds like inside your chest. So is it resonant, which is what we want? Is it dull? Is it a stony dullness? Or is it hyper resonant? You don't have to do anything. You'll just hear me tap along, starting at the lung apices. Just gotta listen. And it'll naturally get lower as we go down the chest wall. Good. So, it sounds like I watch a lot of documentaries. I've just more been on a documentary kick. But we wanted to watch some National Geographic documentaries on ancient Egypt, recent discoveries and the like. And we search them up, find them, look at them. We actually watched all of them already. So then we switched to something a little different. And down here. Right here. Okay. I can have you flip back around. Alright, let's do the tactile vocal Fremitus test again. So I'll have you say 99, 99, 99, 99, 99. Good. finding a docu-series. It was kind of funny because my partner was like, wait a second, I think we've seen this before because I recognize that guy. Well, said guy was Dr. Zahi Hawass, who has been like in every major program about ancient Egypt since I was a kid. Actually, my biological father at one point encouraged me to write a letter to Dr. Zahi Hawass because I wanted to be an Egyptologist more than anything. But Dr. Zahi Hawass is not exactly known for being the nicest person, so that kind of put me off. He's a bit, not outwardly mean, just a bit short, a bit curt, maybe a bit brisk. Now we can do our percussion also on the abdomen. We can map the borders of the organs, like the liver, and we can listen for where there's something that has more air, where something has more fluid. So just keep breathing normally here. But yeah, I had to say, Dr. Zahi Hawass is in like everything. That's why you recognize him. But yeah, so we switched instead to the sci-fi western series Firefly, which I had forgot how iconic that theme song was. I remember when Firefly was actually on air, and I was very young, and you would hear, the violins, the fiddle, and the song. Now the song has been stuck in my head every single day. But it's so funny to see, like, everybody's so young. I love Gina Torres. She's in a lot of things that I've watched. And Alan Tudyk is obviously awesome. Nathan Fillion, so cute. I never did watch Castle, but every time I saw him, I was like, hey, Firefly. Okay, let's come around here. Good, and more in here, getting more into the small intestines area. Excellent. So let's do a little bit more listening. Here, what I can do is I can listen to the renal arteries. So renal meaning kidney. And we can listen to that bilaterally on both sides. So if I could have you just take a deep breath in. And just hold that for a moment. And out. There we are. The other side. Deep breath in. Just hold for a moment. And out. Okay. Would you mind if I see the crook of your elbow? I'd just like to listen to the brachial pulse here. Okay, we're just going to press the diaphragm into that little fossa, which means depression. So, for example, right in here, this is your supraclavicular fossa. Your elbow crook, that's your cubital fossa. Listening for the quality and strength of the pulse. Good. And the other arm here. Excellent. Good. Okay. Could I see your wrists? Just want to see if I can listen to the radial pulse. I can hear mine. And, oh, there's the ulnar. There's the ulnar pulse. So, radial pulse on the thumb side here. Good. And if I could just hold your hand here, ulnar pulse. That one, even just palpating, is a lot trickier than the radial. So we're going to get in there a bit. Good. Radial pulse. Okay. And ulnar pulse. Let me just keep your hand right here. So, I think we'll be done with this, and I have one last tool to employ, and that is the Percussion Hammer. So this is T-R-O with the umlaut, the double dots over it, M-N-E-R, Percussion. It's like if you say Uber instead of Uber, Uber, Percussion. And if I could have your arms, please. I'd like to get our triceps reflex as well as the biceps reflex in here. Okay? So, start with this arm. If I could have you just let it relax against your leg. There we are. No tension in the arm. Just slack. And I'll come behind here, the back of the arm, and we'll just tap along the back of the elbow. 2, 3. There we go. And then I'll just put my thumb in that cubital fossa and tap on my thumb with the hammer. Good. There we are. Other side here. Just let the arm relax down. There you are. So, go ahead and just keep it relaxed. No tension. Good. Just switching to the biceps here. 2, 3. There we go. So, for the lower half, we have the patellar, or the knee jerk reflex, and the Achilles tendon, or the ankle jerk reflex. So, for the patellar, I'm going to have you just relax the leg, just like you did with your arms, and that way we can get a good reflex response there. Don't even really need to locate this super closely. It's pretty easy to get a response here. So we'll do, there we go. And 3. Good. 2, 3. Good. And the other side here. Keeping the leg nice and relaxed. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Good. There we are. For the ankle jerk reflex, I'm going to need you to put your foot on my knee here. And then I'm just going to hold your foot just a little bit so I can get a bit of tension on that tendon. It makes it easier to get a response. So from here, I'm going to hold the top of your foot just like this. And then I'm going to tap on the back of your Achilles tendon. We'll come right here and do, go 2, 3, 2, 3. Excellent. Other foot up here. Let you switch. There you go. So just like the first foot, I'm going to hold the top of your foot and hold it up just a bit so that we can get the back here. A little bit of tension. We'll go 1. Nope, that was not a good one. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2. Oh, no, the last one was not good either. There we are. Okay, put your foot down. Okay, so we took a nice long peek at your face. Lots of palpation, bit of direct percussion. Long ear. We got behind the ears here and here, underneath the jaw, right in here. We auscultated the temporal arteries right in here. We auscultated the carotid arteries right here. We got to our heart, the 4 valves. Listen to the lungs. Anterior, posterior. We did our tactile vocal Fremitus test. Our percussion on the chest, abdomen here. But we did not do our palpation. On the abdomen, that's what we were missing. So I'm going to come in here with a firm touch to start. Do let me know if there's any pain here. We'll just knock this out. We'll feel for any enlargement in areas like the liver, the spleen. We'll feel kidneys. Get a feel of the intestines. There's kind of a little looky-loo around everywhere. Any pain or tenderness? Okay, good. And then we'll do 2 hands. This will be deep pressure. I'm going to have you take a deep breath in and out. That way I don't punch the air out of you. Deep breath in and out. Look at each quadrant. Deep breath in and out. Okay. Deep breath in. Good. Palpation with the abdomen. We had our auscultation of the brachial pulse, radial, ulnar pulses, kidneys, and we did our reflex test. Biceps, triceps, patellar, equal jerk. I think that about rounds it out. auscultation, palpation, and percussion. I hope you have a whale of a day and a good rest of your night.